Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first ever Driving with a Douchebag podcast. I am your host, Holden D. Znuts. Holden Derelius Znuts, that is. Today is a special episode because I am not driving, as you can probably tell. I am in my room. I'm in my home. I just wanted to get this video out there. You know, just as an I just wanted to get the first episode over with. So this is basically what you'll see. It's a podcast. Couldn't find a good. I tried Podbean, but yeah, it didn't have any room. Didn't have enough room for my podcast. So I decided to, hey, you know, YouTube's free. And so I'll post here. I don't care. Anyway, this is just kind of an explanation as to what I do, or what will take place during this podcast. I'm planning on doing this every week, every Friday. And basically it's I take my phone and I record audio of me just talking to myself while I'm driving, because that's when I usually talk to myself, when I'm driving. And I just drive around anywhere, really. And there will be radio that I play in the background, specifically 98.9 The Rock in Kansas City, because I am in Kansas City. Royals Blue represent. But I apologize if the quality of this podcast, this first podcast, isn't as good as I'd like it to be. I will edit the audio every day, and this all will all be pre-recorded and whatnot. So that's basically it. I drive around, I talk about what I've been through for the last week, and I record it on a day-to-day basis, and sometimes I might be walking, because Pokemon Go's a thing now, and I like Pokemon Go. So, that might be, it's probably a thing. I'll probably take a walk in the park. But driving, in the Driving with a Douchebag title, I think is more so driving the road that is life. You could interpret it that way. Basically, that's my just lazy way of saying that's my cheap way of getting out of driving without actually fucking driving during the podcast. And I have audio already, but I set myself a deadline. It passed, so I might put those episodes up eventually. But they'll be the lost episodes. But and you'll hear these long pockets of silence during my live stream, because I'm not editing this, because I just want to get this episode over with. But the next week's podcast will be higher in quality, and it will be edited. And I don't really censor myself. I don't fucking care. The only things that I might censor are personal details about my life that maybe might identify myself to some people. Like the job, and which is what I did in my first initial recording of the podcast. And So yeah, just like revealing details, revealing my identity or location, I'll censor those out if I ever do reveal them in the podcast, which I'll try not to. But that's basically the premise. I drive around or I walk around. I just sit at home and talk to myself, and I talk into a mic and I record my thoughts. This is more so a personal diary than it is a podcast, but for me, I like to publish my work, for lack of a better term. I do that a lot with when I write stuff because I like writing. I like writing poetry mainly. But I feel the need to share it if I'm especially proud of it, you know, which I am. I'm very proud of the work, the writings that I do, and maybe I'll share some of those writings with you guys at some point. But I won't always sound like dreary and drowsy and just tired. I'm tired because I'm laying down and it's 11 o'clock and I have to get to work at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I have a part-time job and I'm looking to, here's a good time to tell you a little bit about myself. I live in Kansas City. I've grown up here mainly. Been here most of my life, and I fucking love this city. I still live with my mom. 25 years old, still live with my mom. I know it's a common, more of a common thing than it was 20, 30 years ago, but it's still kind of embarrassing, and I am looking to get out of the house. I am looking to get an apartment of my own, preferably with my boyfriend. Yes, boyfriend. I'll talk about that in a bit. Um, yeah, I've had seizures. When I was born in Okinawa, Japan, which I don't remember much of because I was an infant. I only spent like 3 months there of my life, and I had a tumor, a dysembryoplastic neuroepithelial tumor, that is, or a DNET tumor. There only a handful of people have them per year, and thankfully it's benign. So I had that taken out. It did when I was 7. Didn't get rid of the seizures. 7 years later, when I was 14, I was seizing like 95% of the time. So I either had to have a surgery that would take out part of my brain, or I would die. And Dr. Wiley, I believe in the Cleveland Clinic, basically she told me that in a nutshell. Either, we're gonna perform surgery on this kid or he's going to die. And I thank Dr. Wiley for, giving me that wake up call. So I did that. I've been seizure free for 11 years. Wow. It's been 11 years since I had a seizure. And I'll talk more about that too. The boyfriend, I am bisexual. I don't give a shit who knows it. And I'm not gonna be one of those fucking faggots. I swear a lot, and I use a lot of not politically correct terms, really. But no, I'm not gonna be. Oh, so I talked to this guy the other day, and I sucked his cock, and no, I want to punch those fuckers in the face, honestly. And I got a boyfriend, and I'll talk about them sometimes. So if you're uncomfortable with that, go fuck yourself. I don't fucking care. This is my fucking show, you little bitch. No. If you're uncomfortable with that, like I said, I don't care. And I won't talk about him all the time. I'll only bring him up. I'll bring him up a lot, I think, because he's a big part of my life right now, and I hope, hopefully, for years to come. But no, I have a boyfriend. If you're uncomfortable with that, fuck off. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I can talk about wrestling like 24/7 if you needed me to. This is not a wrestling podcast, but it is one of the more central themes a lot of the time because I fucking love wrestling. The WWE's main product, Raw and SmackDown, have sucked ass for the past maybe 2 years, maybe. But getting onto that, I like what they're doing with the draft. I don't think it's necessary to have a draft, but I like what they're doing with it. As long as they do it right, I'm going to be watching SmackDown all week because Raw is 3 hours long and I can't fucking sit through that shit. And hopefully, I would like, I'd like a lot of people to be on the SmackDown roster, but hopefully my favorite wrestlers will be on SmackDown and not Raw. But anyway, SmackDown's better than Raw in my opinion. Not lately, but it will be soon again. I've been watching the Cruiserweight Classic, and that's good. So again, wrestling, getting along with the explanation. Wrestling is a big theme in this podcast, but this is not a wrestling podcast because I don't want to watch fucking Raw and then SmackDown and then NXT and then Cruiserweight Classic and then ROH and then fucking TNA and then Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and then New Japan. It's too much wrestling. And for a time that where people don't really give a shit about wrestling, there's too much wrestling to fucking review in 1 week. And I just can't fucking do that. So mainly I'll be focusing on WWE. If there's a big match in New Japan or ROH, I'll talk about that too, sometimes. And then the other thing is I shit on advertisements. I hate advertisements. I mean, when they're not in the middle, like, when they're not starting off the cat video I want to watch, I'll listen to ads on the radio just to make fun of them and just to be a cynical prick about it. But, yeah, that's another huge theme to the show. I shit on ads, basically, which I fucking love to do. And you're going to hear some of that in my lost podcasts that I'll put out eventually, probably. I'm a gamer. I've been playing Fallout a lot. So any huge gamer news, I'll probably talk about. Anything that interests me. I'm like the poor man's Philip DeFranco, almost. Only you can't see me, and fucking I'm less funny. And I make fun of myself a lot more, probably. I laugh because it's too painful to cry. Alright. And that's basically it. That's the premise of the show. That's my explanation. Hopefully you guys might find me entertaining enough. Again, I'm doing this more as a journal for me to look back on in my later years. Because I don't have a good, I have a good memory when I want to have a good memory. You know, I have a very selective memory, and shit. What was I gonna talk? Anyway, I have a very selective memory, and shit. What was it gonna? Okay. Anyway, I have a very selective memory. You get the point. Hopefully, I think that about covers it. As I've said 50 million fucking times already. I hope you guys enjoy my podcast. There will be another one coming out next week, and hopefully that's enough information for you to maybe be interested in listening to the rest of my podcasts. So, with that said, I will see you guys next Friday. I am Holden D. Nuts.